Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution.
The ads say the coast is toast, but maybe they should say Volcano is Drano.
You leave Volcano feeling a bit singed.
The characters aren't people. They're mere objects to stick in front of the flowing lava.
Movie bombs LA with lava, audience with stupidity.
There's no real suspense because you don't care about anyone.
A flatulent blast of superheated air from the seething bowels of Hollywood.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm GrobeStreet.
This week we're getting into the 1997 disaster classic, Volcano. And this is our second of the two 1997 Volcano movies. And I do think this is much like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that whichever one you've seen most recently is probably your favorite. I really thought that Dante's Peak was my favorite, but then I watched this and now this is my favorite.
I think we even talked about this when we did Dante's Peak. Like, is this recency bias? We saw Dante's Peak. Now it's my favorite of the two. And we just watched Volcano and yep, I'm in the same boat. This is better than Dante's Peak, but probably just because we watched it.
Yes, 100%. So this movie, like all movies, shockingly, is at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And we structure the podcast so that the first half is spoiler free, talk about some things to watch for in the movie, take a break, go watch the movie, come back and talk about what we just went through.
Let's get to the rotten premise. When a massive earthquake rocks the city of Los Angeles, Emergency Management Department head Mike Rourke returns from his vacation to help with city's response. After geologist Dr. Amy Barnes warns that a volcano may be forming in sewer tunnels, another severe earthquake unleashes the lava flowing underfoot, threatening to destroy the whole city. As the fiery molten rock runs through the streets, Rourke and Barnes must figure out how to divert it. Critics, 50%. Audience, 32%. Right on the line for us to be able to do this.
And again, how are the audience only 32%? Are they watching a different film?
It's like this movie, you're right, like this movie seems like it should be flipped. We've talked about this a number of times, where like a movie like this, it'd be understandable why the audience would be at 50% and the critics would be 32 because it's a disaster movie. And what they're going for in a disaster movie isn't often what critics are looking for. But in the case, and you can see why in this movie too, because it's a well-made movie. It's a disaster movie. But like the ones we've done before, it is a good movie.
Yeah, a pun incoming, but is it possible people were just burnt out on Volcano movies?
Yeah, I definitely think that was the race when these both came out, to not be the one that you're burnt out for.
Yeah, I can't imagine getting burnt out of Volcano movies. I'd be like, let's keep it going. Let's get one a month.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is like the world was burnt out from two. The whole thing about this movie is it's close to Dante's Peak and it's within 80 days of each other. Hey, how about we just have 5 disaster movies a year and they can come out on the same day? I don't care. We all have time to watch these things. What was once a thing, like which one's going to come out first? Let's rush the editing. Now just pump it out. Let's have more.
Yeah, let's do it. A little bit of background. Came out April 25th, 1997. Opened number 1. So we're back on top. Took in $14.5 million its opening weekend. It knocked off another one of our prior films, Anaconda.
Wow.
Yeah. Overall, took in $49 million in the U.S., $123 million worldwide on a $90 million budget. So I do think these disaster movies just play globally. Like everyone loves a disaster. It just makes a lot of sense.
Math and disasters are a universal language.
Yes. Yeah. I'd say disasters more so than math. And we talked about this, but Dante's Peak came out earlier in the year, and they had rushed through production of that to become the first Volcano movie, for better or worse. And that was bumped up to February. So this is pretty close after Dante's Peak. And little tidbit here, and this comes up very briefly in the film, but not a spoiler, but I think that they could have said based on a true story to start this thing up. They don't, but I think they could have gotten away with it because, and this is, like I said, this is mentioned in the film very briefly, but in a town called Paracutin in Mexico, which is about 200 miles west of Mexico City, in the 1940s, a volcano just appeared where a volcano had never been before in the middle of this farmer's cornfield. First time in modern history that people had actually seen the creation of a volcano. It came up in 1943. By 1952, it was 1,400 feet tall. It had covered 90 square miles with lava, and 2 towns were entirely wiped off the map. Goes from no volcano to instant volcano, just like in this movie. So I feel like it's not a huge stretch to say this is based on a true story.
There's no history of something until it happens.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just thought that was so cool.
I wonder how close they could have. Me and my wife talk about this all the time because she's always tricked by based on a true story. I think she thinks it means like it's a documentary. But I wonder what the line is to get, like, how close were they to make Volcano based on a true story because of that story? Like, I wonder if they were like tried it and like, oh, you just missed.
Right. Like, was it the cornfield? Like, if it was in the middle of a small town square, would that have gotten you there?
Right, less palm trees, more corn, and that would have been fine.
Yeah. Well, in any event, it's worth checking out. There's quite a lot of photos and archival video. You can actually watch this volcano that came up out of nowhere. I guess really the prequel to Volcano. You can watch it on YouTube.
Let's get to Bolos.
Let's do it.
Bolo, a foreboding camera pan down of the Fox logo.
Yes. And I'll follow that up, just foreshadowing everywhere. If you see something and you're feeling a little inkling, trust that. Chekhov's
everything.
Yes.
Learning what OEM means.
Yes.
Good deal. Yep.
This was an early one, but again, we have some opening text. Your favorite.
Yeah. Now, I was wondering on this. This is typed out text, I believe. So, like, it happens even. It's not even there when you see it. It comes on. Is that even more frustrating? Would you like it to be there? Or do you like having it typed out when it comes on?
I think I like having it be there, but really, I like it read to me, and everything else is just shades of the same thing.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a nice read. But Bolo, a 976 advertisement. You don't see that too often anymore.
You don't. No. I will go with Bolo, the morning news. Like, I feel like growing up, we had a TV in the kitchen, and we used to always watch the morning news. I never watch the morning news anymore.
No, we had the same exact thing. I remember like waking up early on purpose to make sure I could squeeze in some cartoons before the house inevitably changed to the morning news.
Yeah. Is that a dated thing? People don't do that, right? We're not, or are we out of touch with the morning news?
I think my mom is still doing the morning news. I think it might just be because I left home.
Yeah. I guess actually my parents do have a TV in the kitchen, probably just for the morning news.
Yeah, I think it's still happening. This is like when you think that, like, where did all these kids cereal commercials go? Because you're not watching, and then you have a kid and you're like, oh, they're all still there. Okay. All right. It was just because I was doing something different. Lucky Charms is still on TV. Bolo, LA people just being casual about quakes. Always fun in movies.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. Do you feel like you're on your way to there?
I have a take that I couldn't care less about earthquakes. Yeah, I am very casual. I couldn't care. I'm not scared at all by earthquakes. I'm more worried about them in the Northeast and being like a nor'easter or snow. That is my day. But quakes, whatever.
This is another thing that reminds me very much of my childhood. But Bolo, a gum shelf. If you're not familiar with a gum shelf, it's some sort of shelf where you stick gum. And there's a great one here. Growing up, there was a roller skating rink that had one of the greatest gum shelves I'd ever seen, probably the greatest one I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was like decades and decades of gum. I know in Seattle they had a gum wall that eventually had to come down, but I like these sort of less celebrated gum shelves.
You're not talking about Roland and Norwood, are you?
This was a Wallex on the border of Waltham and Lexington.
That's good. I'm going to piggyback a little bit. Nicorette gum. Is that still a thing?
I think it is.
I
feel like it's definitely been usurped by like vaping and pouches and whatnot. But I think it still is. And I'll follow that up with the nicotine patch, which is a very obviously worn nicotine patch.
Bolo, excessive force on tires.
Yes. I'm going to go Bolo, dismissiveness. First half of this movie, lots and lots of it.
It happens a lot in Volcano movies where it's just
Yeah.
like, what? No way. No, what are you, a scientist? I'm not listening to you. Bolo, and this is really fun too, but just LA stuff. This
Yes.
is a fun as a new West Coast person. I'm not even in LA, I'm in San Diego, but I'm more familiar with this stuff. But just like so many nods to LA, especially in the opening sequence when you see Randy's Donuts and Angeline Billboard, which we'll get to. Just awesome LA movie.
Yep. Yeah, I had right after I'd watched this for the first time, my sister-in-law was in town. They live in LA. And I was telling her, somehow LA movies came up, and I was like, oh, LA movies, you got to watch Volcano. And she hadn't even thought about it as an LA movie, but it is very much an LA movie.
And it's fun. Like there's it's almost like watching, you don't realize a movie's a Christmas movie, and it's like it could be like an action movie or something, and all of a sudden there's a Christmas tree and there's a song. You're like, wait, this is a Christmas movie? I can watch this in Christmas every year. And now it's like, well, Volcano's an LA movie. I didn't know it was also that.
Yep.
Bolo Susie.
Yes. Oh, I was literally just about to say that. I didn't realize she existed outside the Curb Your Enthusiasm universe.
Me either, but she's still Susie. Well, I knew her from Broad City.
I was about to say Broad City. That was the only other place I've seen her.
And she's Susie.
She's Susie through and through.
True.
I'll follow that up with Bolo Bunny Colvin from The Wire.
Yeah. Good. Bolo talking down to someone. Not a fan, but it's the...
Yeah, lots of it. Bolo Kangol. I feel like those were very much a thing for a while, and I'm sure they'll come back.
Even as they were a thing, they were still questioned at the time by people. And it's very accurate that it happened like that way in this movie. Bolo also of the time, I slept with your wife joke.
Yeah, you don't hear those that much anymore. Bolo Slow-Mo. So we always got to shout out to Slow-Mo.
I think we're sneakily a high-end slow-mo podcast. A lot of our movies...
Agree, yes.
Yeah, we've got some great slow-mo in our history. In this movie...
This might be the best one yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bold take, but I think I might agree with you. Bolo, La Brea Tar Pits, I think it's our second time the La Brea Tar Pits have made it into a movie.
Last Action Hero?
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Parts.
Have you seen the Tar Pits? I've never seen them.
No, I have not.
I feel like next time I go to LA, that's going to be the thing I want to see first.
I always drive through there now, and I don't know why I haven't. Yeah, I'm going to make that a point. Hopefully by the next time we have a podcast, I've seen the La Brea Tar Pits.
I'm going to go Bolo Whole Foods. There was a Whole Foods appearance, which I think was our first Whole Foods.
Yeah, it was like 20 years before I knew Whole Foods even existed. It was, like, who knew it was out here in the 90s? It was just, I only knew it existed because I befriended a rich kid from Newton, and they had a Whole Foods when I was growing up. Yeah. Bolo, this made me laugh more than I think anything that was intended ever in a movie. But Bolo, a firefighter being ejected from a truck.
This is, I guess, also now dated, but Bolo business cards.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not that far away from them like becoming retro.
Now, if you were to name the best business card movie, would we be saying the same thing?
It's got to be American Psycho, right?
Yeah, it's American Psycho. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Bolo, a game of rock, paper, scissors, lava.
Yes, of course. Bolo Cheadle. Got Don Cheadle sighting.
Whoa. It is like LeBron in the 8th grade. You're just like, wow, this guy's in this role? What? How did we get Cheadle here?
Yes.
Bolo, a famous Gatorade commercial reference.
Oh yeah. This will be my last Bolo. I'm gonna go just to throw it out there, but Bolo Steam. You know I love Steam.
Big Steam guy. This is a huge Steam movie. Let me rattle off a couple here. Bolo, being told you're a good man with a very low bar for it. Bolo Ash, and Bolo Ash, just like Dante Speak, there's a lot of ash.
Oh, yeah.
Bolo, racial tension. Bolo, an amazing upper body only toss. And Bolo, you don't see this a lot, Tommy Lee Jones being athletic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I haven't seen enough films of him when he was younger, because he played football in college. Like, he was a legit athlete.
it's fun. To me, he's in the camp of like Morgan Freeman or someone.
He's just always been old.
Right. He was born at 50, even when he was 20. Every movie he's 50, and then all of a sudden he's like he's a young older guy. He can do anything. He's still only 50. So yeah, that's fun to hear that he was a football guy. That's like hearing Ed O'Neill was actually like a football player, right? But he's always been just like an older football guy. And I'll get into this later, but Bolo Angelin, I'll get to it later, but Bolo, someone on a billboard that you might not recognize, but is in often a lot of movies.
Good one.
And drink to pair with the movie. What do you got?
So this almost feels made up because sometimes we do make our own cocktails up to go with the drink or to go with the movie. But this one is really just perfect. I found this cocktail. I want to have one pretty badly. It is the Lava Flow. It's a real cocktail. It takes some work, but there's really two parts. So you get a blender, you blend up rum, strawberries, and ice, and you set that aside. Then you also blend up coconut rum, pineapple juice, cream of coconut, and ice. So then you have a cream-colored drink and a red-colored drink, and then you mix them together and swirl them all around, and you get these lava swirls. It sounds amazing. It sounds like a perfect sort of vacation drink, but also just perfect for this movie.
That is a awesome drink to pick for the movie. I think I'm just going to second that. Mine was the terrible choice. I'm not even going to go for it. I think that's what we're going to have one drink on this one. I wasn't very confident in mine. I think yours is awesome, and that's the only drink you need to have when you watch this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I do feel like it'd be best if you had two blenders, but I'm sure some of our listeners have two blenders. Yeah.
I mean, it happens when, like in the movie, like in the show Martin, two people move in together. They both have their blender. Right. No one's going to give up their blender you're always going to have a second one that you moved in with, no matter how long you live with them. So that makes sense. I think that's the drink to pair with the movie. We're just going to pick the one, and let's get on to the movie. This movie's I think this is one of these movies where I was watching it for the first time. So let's let you get to the movie, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
This morning's shaker surprised all of us here in the Fox 11 newsroom.
This was a small to moderate earthquake.
Hey, guys, what's going on? 3 guys stood on the storm drain. They had a steam pipe and got scalded. Steam did that.
Steam doesn't chart tissue like this.
Methane?
Something else. That lake was 62 degrees yesterday. Today it's up to 68.
That's a sunny day.
It takes a geological event to heat 1 million gallons of water in 12 hours.
God, leave your home. Somebody tell me what the hell is going on.
There's got to be something feeding this. When it hits the block, it's going to punch through.
You mean erupts?
Yeah!
I need a demolitions team. Everybody out! LAPD, National Guard. Put as many people in front of it as it takes. If we turn and run now, they're going to be defenseless. You don't like my plan? That's good. Give me another plan, but don't tell me we're backing out. We're going to take this thing to the ocean.
In a city where anything can happen. On April 25th.
Welcome back.
Wow.
It will.
Flaming hot movie. I mean, we talked about it briefly before the break that it was just one of these movies you watch and you're just like, this is so fun. And it was so much better than I remembered it being. Like I remembered it being like a good movie. This movie was great.
Yeah, I totally agree. This movie, I think I saw this. This was 2 parts. This was the hardest movie to watch for whatever reason in my family. Every time I tried to watch the movie, my son would walk. One of my sons would walk in and like to be someone burning or whatever, and it was hard. So I'd have to always turn it off, and so it was disjointed. But this is probably one of the most fun movies that we've watched, and it was like you said, like it was lost in the volcano tornado of 97, and I just kind of forgot about it. But man, this movie is a ton of fun. Like I said, like we both said, it's even if you don't like a volcano movie, if you like a West Coast LA movie or seeing a city get destroyed, like this is an awesome movie for that.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like, I feel like when I talk to people about this or Dante's Peak, everyone knows about them and everyone remembers that they came out like back to back, but then no one can really keep them straight or really remember what happened in them.
Right. That's 100% true. And I was in the same boat, but now we got this. We got this down now.
Yes.
I'm super pumped for the draft. I have a top pick that I'm wondering if you think is a clear-cut top pick, but it's a little bit out there. So I'm very excited.
As do I. So I'm very curious. Here we go.
Here we go. First pick.
My top pick, and for me, this was it's a scene, and when I saw it, I was like, "This is it. This is the greatest scene, maybe, of the history of our podcast." But I'm going with the scene where Stan Ober jumps off the train into the lava to save a stranger, and then melts into the pool of lava. It is the most heroic, selfless, and unbelievable scene I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's amazing.
It's such an incredible scene. It's so selfless is the number. Like, there's no reason. This is just another like a driver of a train, and he burns alive to save.
In like the worst way to go.
Worst from the toes up.
Yes.
Just burning alive slowly. And in this lava, it seems like nothing catches fire unless it's in the lava. So you have to go toes, cap, knees, all the way up slowly.
Yep.
And it seems like he knew that. And that throw, the upper body strength that he has.
Yeah.
I'm like, he knew some people would have thrown in the air, like jump throw, but he knew that he could land and then just like Ultimate Warrior shoulder press this guy off.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what he does. And the scene, I've never seen anything like this. It's bonkers.
His coworkers are like, save yourself, leave him, get off there. And
right. Like, right. I was like, throw the body down and run across it. Like,
it's 1-1 here. Your life or his life. I don't know. Like, it's not a child. It's another dude. But it's very, very selfless. That's a great pick. That was one of my top picks. Just that scene alone was in the prayers going into it and the slow-mo.
The whole lead up.
Like melting as it's happening.
Yep.
Oh,
that scene, remarkable scene.
Yeah, such a great scene. I'm just going to go my number one pick, Tommy Lee Jones barking orders. I need him in a situation where this is obviously goes back to the fugitive, U.S. Marshals, the client. Like, we just need him having some people kind of not paying attention near him, and he gathers them around and tells them all what to do. And it's just like, dude, if I just started my day with Tommy Lee Jones being like, go to the gym, drink your water, come back, take care of your kids, like every day would be incredible.
Yeah.
It's so motivating. Like the guy,
so motivating.
Even when he's like, basically, I have a terrible plan, but we're going to do it. And if you have another one, let me know. He's still open to feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's just whatever it is, you feel extreme confidence that like that's the thing to do. It might not be the best move, but that's the move.
That's the move right now. It's the best we got. And man, him barking orders is just like, I don't even care what the movie is. It's just like Tommy Lee telling a crowd of men what to do. Let's watch. So I'll watch the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that scene exactly, obviously an homage to The Fugitive, clearly, but that's also one of his greatest roles. So it's like, of course, run that back. That's what I want to see. It
is just, I don't know if there's anybody else in that like wheelhouse like him that you just want to tell a crowd of people what to do in a big situation. Like, how do we solve this?
No.
What roads do we shut down? Is there a blueprint? Is there a map that goes over another map? Does anyone know how to use it? It's all him. He knows how to do all of it. And my other one, I hope this doesn't steal too much from you, but part of what I think people didn't like in Dante's Peak was like the other cast members weren't like the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
And my goodness, this cast, the whole cast is just incredible. Once you get past Anne Hesh and Tommy Lee Jones, even like this is incredible. We have so many people. It's even hard to list. But like you said, like Don Cheadle and Stan is a name, and Michael Risperioli who plays Gator, and I forget his name, the cop who shows up like halfway through. Like there's just so many people in minor roles in this where everyone is just like, how is this guy in this movie? This person's like a real actor in their small role.
Yeah, it's like the first 20 minutes, you're just like, he's in this? She's in this? Over and over and over again.
What? I don't know if you know the name of the cop that shows up, but it's exactly that. He's in this, and then this guy shows up like halfway through, and you're like, wow. It's I think it's the same, the dad in Something About Mary, right? That guy.
Yeah. Throughout the entire film, you're just like, oh my God. It's one of these things. They probably said, we got Volcano, like we got Lava, we got Tommy Lee Jones, and everyone's like, sign me up.
That like, and we just had a whole thing going off of like a side character Stan. Your first pick was
Yes.
him. That's not like, that's a rare thing to have a side character like that be the number one. And that's not even going into Cheadle and Risperioli and everything else. So this movie, like the squad behind Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Hesh are just really good.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not even going into like Gabby Hoffman, who is like one of the best kid actors of all time with Uncle Buck and everything else. She's incredible in this too.
Absolutely. That's a great pick. I am going to just dive right into that. I think it's worth spending a pick on.
Nice.
To just stay on Cheadle. I thought you mentioned this before, it's sort of watching LeBron in the 8th grade. That's exactly what this is, right? This is a star who's not only a star like about to be born, like this guy is fully formed star in this kind of minor role, but you just see all the future roles in him right there. Like he has that presence on camera that is probably, I mean, like obviously Tommy Lee Jones has a significant presence, but Cheadle is battling for that on every scene he's in. And you can just feel that this guy is a full on movie star and he's great in this role. It's kind of I feel like in a lot of other people's hands, it would be kind of a throwaway role that just kind of moves the plot along or connects Tommy Lee Jones to somebody else or whatever it is. But he takes it and makes it a real interesting character that actually moves the plot and everything along. And you really sort of like get to know this guy.
Such a good thing. Like early stages, great actors, that is what happens, right? They get a few lines or they're a big character and you're like, whoa, that guy really jumps. Like they take up the camera and they take their full attention and he is so good. And we get one of my favorite things, which is Casual Guy. He has a lollipop in when he's doing stuff. Which, it's like, whatever. I used to, on a similar note, when I was a teacher on open house, I would always eat an apple. Number one, to like avoid conversations, but two, to just kind of like, I'm in the middle of something.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, whatever. Like it was an easy way to, I don't know, it's just like a show of like, all right, casual, I'm going to walk over here. And I was a way to like get out of things. I had like 4 apples every open house just to be like, all right. And like the lollipop does the same thing. Just like, it's a very confident move with all this turmoil. Have the lollipop in there. And he's so good.
He's so good. And I don't doubt that he just did that, right? Like, I feel like he was like, this is what my character needs.
Yep. And he was like a funny character. There wasn't a whole lot of known depth to the character, but you knew like he wanted the job of Tommy Lee Jones. He's always at work. He loves disaster. And he just like, I know so much about that character without really much written for it.
Right.
That's a great pick.
My third pick is, I'm going with all the exploring suits that they wear when they go underground. I feel like both the scientists had their own kind of silvery suits. The like utility crew had their own suits. Tommy Lee Jones had their own suits. And they always it was like everyone just had these unbelievable suits at the ready with their oxygen tanks and everything sealed up and visors and whatnot. And they just looked so cool. It made me feel like I need to have some sort of emergency suit in my car, just ready to go. I mean, I probably would hopefully have one that maybe could withstand a little bit high temperatures because they didn't seem to melt.
Yep.
But it was very, very hot. So, what are you going to do?
That's a great pick. And I think everyone else knew the suits were amazing. That's why there was one scene where Anne Heche comes out of the ground after Rachel, her assistant, whatever, gets burnt alive. And she puts her suit down for like half a second. And someone takes it.
Someone grabs it.
Everyone knows these suits are amazing. Someone steals it like she's grieving. Her friend just died because of her. And she just puts her suit down for a second. And someone just comes over and grabs it. And she doesn't even react. She's like, yeah, it's a good suit.
Yeah. She's like, I would have done the same thing too.
If I wasn't grieving right now, I would take somebody else's suit. That's awesome. Very good. And it's very like, this is the DPW suit. This is the OEM suit. This is the firefighter suit. Everyone has their lane. I'm really deep now. I have, this is a stupid pick, but I really enjoy the explanation and use of K-rails in this. I didn't really know what K-rails were, I guess, but through Tommy Lee Jones, they're very important. and now I really understand. Now I think I will never look at like that concrete divider the same.
Oh yeah,
for this movie, because those things stacked up saved L.A. K-Rails.
yeah. It was amazing. I mean, that the coordination that Tommy Lee Jones was able to get was astounding. I mean, it's impossible to get people to do anything.
Yeah. And that just shows how good he is, that he can get this emotional attachment to just K-Rails, because he's just
K-Rails,
so well. I think my last one, my sleeper pick here, is I don't think I remember hearing. I'm just gonna go with the "I Love L.A." song from Randy Newman.
Yes,
song at the end. It's just
amazing.
Like, right, this was an ode. Like, it just puts that stamp of like, yeah, this is an LA movie.
Uh-huh.
And that song, and then I watched the video. I don't think I'd ever seen it before, and I went down this like rabbit hole of Randy Newman, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this movie is so good, and that is the perfect song.
It was
perfect.
Yeah, I listened to the whole thing when I was watching it. I was like, this song, I had the exact same reaction. I was like, this is the perfect song for the end of this movie. So the whole thing, I was like, this is an LA movie. This is the perfect song. It was the perfect sort of like little bit of hokiness to it. And the Randy Newman-ness of it was just, it nailed it.
It just hit the nerve ending perfectly. It was so perfect. Yep.
Oh, that's a great pick.
I don't know that kind of, like, I know Randy Newman from Toy Story and like one Family Guy episode where they made
I think of the Family Guy episode.
That's all I got. And then it's like, now I got to see from the video, like, oh, that's what Randy Newman even looks like. And he's like a real person.
That's a great pick. My sleeper pick is Hard Rock Cafe. Hard Rock shows up prominently in this movie, and I have a very strong attachment to Hard Rock Cafe. As I used to travel around with my folks a lot on like business trips and things like that all over the place when I was a kid. And this was the era when Hard Rock Cafe was a big thing. It was everywhere, and every town, every city, like major city had one. And we would go, and wherever we were, we would go to Hard Rock Cafe, and we'd like eat there, and I'd check out all the cool memorabilia and in all different countries. I'd get the little pins, and I had a whole collection of all the pins to like signify all these different places I'd been. But it was just such a cool restaurant, because it's, especially when you're a kid and you're waiting for your food, and that, 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever is the longest 10 or 15 minutes of your entire life.
Yep.
Here, you can put your order in and then just go look at all this really cool stuff. And then a few minutes later, your food's there.
Yeah, your time doesn't. There's no waiting at Hard Rock Cafe as a kid.
Exactly.
You just had so much to look at. You were just like, my food's here already. It's not like being at Friendly's. Your food is just right there. It seems like. Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been to dozens and dozens of Hard Rock Cafes. So I love just seeing that in the movie. It really brought me back.
Would you ever go to a Hard Rock Cafe just for the pin, like so it can say like Hard Rock?
Yeah, I mean, there were times where I didn't have enough time to eat there, and I just went and got a pin for sure.
Hey, you seem like a big pin collector.
Yeah, I still have them. I don't know where they are, but I have not gotten rid of those.
I'm sure you haven't. I bet your wife knows where they are. That's awesome. I have an anti-pick.
Let's hear it.
Actually, I have two anti-picks, but I'll go with the one. I don't like in the morning when cooking and you're just like yelling, like, oh, this is ready. I don't like yelling room to room. So in the beginning when he's cooking the eggs and he's like, the eggs are ready, cornflakes are ready. He doesn't even hear what she's saying. And I get it's showing like, oh, he's a single dad and he's trying to do things and terrible at cooking and awful with dog safety and all that stuff.
Yeah, no yelling in the morning, especially.
No, just stop yelling. Like starting the room, like yelling when the breakfast is ready. Stop it. Not a big fan of that.
I agree. Going an honorable mention here. There was just some great maps.
Oh my!
Really, really great maps in this. I even paused it at one point to look at one of the maps because it was just beautiful.
And there was maps that went over other maps too, which is always great. Like they have the blueprints, like this is where the tunnel is, and it lines up. I feel like that is lost in movies now.
Yeah, I would just get that. Like if they gave me just a map of like here's the road, and then you lift it up, and like here's all the pipes underneath the road, and you lift it up, and it's like here's the dirt, rocks that are. I could go layer after layer.
Tunnels, cool. Let's go. This is where the rat. Let's keep going.
Yes.
Let's get to are we on a superlative?
Relative, yeah.
Favorite volcano effect. Now, I have a feeling when you texted me this, you left out your answer when you texted on purpose.
I may have. I don't remember what I texted, but I that seems like something I would do, so I probably did.
I'm going to pick the same. I'm going to have you go if you'd like. I'd like to go first. You go first, and I'm going to because there's one clear cut favorite volcano effect for me. But you go first to see if you're being a little coy. Let's see.
Yeah, I probably was. So mine, and I actually did have a few things to choose from, and there was almost a whole category of things that I wanted to choose, but I, in my heart of hearts, couldn't. So I almost chose some of the sort of more subtle elements. Like I really liked the boiling lake because I liked, especially when Anne Heche was like, "Oh, this lake is 4 degrees or 6 degrees warmer," and you're like, "Well, that doesn't sound so much." But then she goes into it, and she's like, "Oh, actually, that's a really big deal." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? That is a really big deal." Yep. So I really liked that. But in my heart of hearts, it's the fireballs. It's the
lava bombs?
The lava bombs flying out from, yes.
It has to be.
It has to be the lava bombs. I mean, it's not only are they amazing and they're just like these exploding balls of lava, but then you also get that scene where Anne Heche is showing people how to dodge them as if she's this like lava ball expert.
Right. And all she's doing is like waiting a few seconds to see where it's falling instead of just running with your eyes closed, I guess.
Yes. So those things, I mean, they obviously spent a lot of money on special effects in this film, and those I thought were some of the best effects in the whole thing.
All right, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Lava bombs. That is my choice as well. I think it has to be the lava bombs in the streets of LA, and they just like hitting people, cars, buildings.
So good.
There's a lot of projectiles in this movie, and it's really cool to have another element of just like so much stuff falling from the sky with the lava bombs. But I don't think there's another choice besides that. So definitely lava bombs. Bumper sticker. What quote from this movie would you put on, not you, but would somebody put on a bumper sticker?
For me, this was a very thin bumper sticker movie. For me, I had a hard time coming up with one.
Yep.
But the one I chose was just stay where you are, which I feel like when you're driving is really all you want anyone else to do. You don't want people moving around you, passing you, doing anything. Just stay where you are. That's it.
I do. That would solve everything. Just stay where you are.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great. I had a list of like 5. I too struggled with this. I don't think there was like a clear cut one, but that's a great one. I have a early one of just the kid when she was asked about what you would do in case of an earthquake, and she just says, "Put your head between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye." And I feel like that on the back of a car. I always lean angry because the only people who put stuff on the back of their car seem to be angry.
Yes.
So if that's on the back, I could feel like that would be a thing that you would see on the road.
Yep.
I'll go first on this one just because we didn't even talk about it yet because I don't think it's that important. But one change to be a blockbuster for this movie. So what change would make this even a bigger hit? I think they could just ease up on the heavy-handed like race relation stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
that's the answer. I had the exact same thing. It's so cringe-inducing.
Yeah.
We're very much. My daughter's very much into Dr. Seuss books right now. I call it the Sneetches ending.
Oh my goodness!
It's so like good. That's all it is. It's ripping off the Sneetches, but in a way worse way.
I shouldn't go down the sidebar, but Sneetches are one of my favorite stories. I would read it every year as a teacher to my class to teach.
Great story.
Great story. And it would start with some kids would have like a little poly dot on their stomach and other ones wouldn't. And you tag ones that had them, and then you give it to them, and then tag somebody else. And by the end, you don't even know who started with the circle and who didn't. Great reference with the Sneetches.
But yeah, that bar was brutal. It felt heavy-handed is the exact right. It was out of place. It was totally unnecessary. Obviously, the context of the race riots going on in LA around then, but
it just
no place for that in this film. It was just it was hokey. It was heavy-handed. It was. I just can't imagine anybody not watching that and just being like, "Oh."
Yeah, and it just seems like it's 2 different paths. Like this is a disaster movie in LA, and then you're like, wait, I have to. You're squeezing this in here. That's not like aligned with why we're here. I'd rather have been like a BS love story with and Haitian Tommy Lee Jones than like that other subplot.
I do have a thing we could replace it with.
Ooh,
My second change, and we could take all that time that we wasted with the Sneetches ending, and I want Norman Calder, the doctor's husband, the real estate developer.
oh, yeah.
The whole movie, they're teeing him up as just this asshole, guy who doesn't care for anybody but himself, and then he doesn't get a horribly vicious death. Like, his building gets knocked over, but like, okay, the whole city got destroyed. He should have had the building land on him, that then got smushed into lava, and then like his melted face goes like floating down the lava pool. But the whole movie, you're just waiting for him to get it in the worst way, and it doesn't happen. And that is a missed opportunity.
That felt like a hot tub time machine. Like, they're setting this guy up to get a horrible, like, we have great people, heroic people giving their lives about the movie. We're going to get one jerk dying, right?
Yes.
This is the jerk. The
That's
building
him.
is going to fall on him. That's the whole point. I thought too, like, I thought that building would fall on him and it would just be poetic. And he just was like, you're a jerk for helping people. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right. So easy fix there. Get out the race relations. Get in the horrible, horrible end of Norman Calder.
I think that's a perfect one. And that was so like it would have been just so satisfying if he had to die somehow.
Yes.
Like, or like he should have needed help from somebody nearby, a stranger, and then died because they didn't help him, just like he wanted his wife to do to everyone else. Something like.
Yeah, they all use him as a bridge to cross the lava.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Spinoff ideas. You got anything?
I'm going back to the well here over and over again, but I almost don't even care what it is. Just make Cheadle in charge. They clearly set him up at the end to be taken over. So whatever the next incident is in LA, it's Cheadle is in charge of the department. I was thinking you could have one of those. They've sort of toyed around it in movies before. We have LA just break off into the ocean, like the San Andreas Fault really ripped open. Yeah. Yes. So I say let it rip. Have California rip right off. Put Cheadle in charge. He'll figure it out.
You're saying have California rip right off and have Cheadle navigate the island?
Take care of everything. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, who wouldn't watch that?
I haven't thought it all through, but yeah, you don't need to think it all through.
I don't think you need to. I think you did enough of it. That's the movie. That's incredible. I would definitely watch that. Mine is combining these two movies that seem linked no matter what. So my spinoff is these two combined, called Dante's Volcano. Let's just be obvious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Premise. After the events of Dante's Peak and Volcano, seismic activity continues to escalate worldwide, suggesting a potential supervolcanic event. Harry Dalton from Dante's Peak and Mike Rourke from Volcano are recruited by an international geological task force to apply the unique experiences and skills to the global crisis. So there is a super event. These are both like little precursors, which is like my favorite thing in movies. Like, oh no, that atom bomb wasn't the real thing. There's 50 atom bombs coming. So you know what I mean? Like, it's always like, that was just a tremor. That was just whatever. And so those movies were just a setup for this super volcanic Earth that we're inheriting a couple, years later. And these two have to get together and combine the two worlds. They've been separate for so long. Let's get them together in the same movie.
Right. Solve everyone's problems of not being able to remember which movie was which and just say they are the same movie. Let's do it.
Yeah, and that might be the whole point, is just to be like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the same movie. You don't have to say which one. It's the one with Tommy Lee Jones or with what's his name? Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
They're in the same
movie. Answer yes.
Yes. Great options. And we have a new name for our segment?
A new sponsor. A new sponsor for our segment. That's right. Yeah, so we have our longtime sponsor that you've probably heard several times over the break, Training Ties, and Grobe's got the Training Ties hat on as we speak. They are now sponsoring our final segment of each episode. It is the Training Ties segment of Tying Up Loose Ends.
I think that is so perfect, and it's one of those things that, we should have thought about before, but it takes your big brain to do it, and it's a great idea, and I can't wait for the segment. And I have a bunch of notes. I wonder if you do too. But if you don't mind, I'll get to mine first here. I should have picked this in the draft, I think. But Angeline, are you familiar with these billboards?
No, I'm not.
So this woman, Angeline, was famous for not really being famous, but she put up billboards of herself in LA starting in 1982 and just put up billboards of herself. She was like, and no one knew who she was. She kept her identity secret until 2017. She was just like a blonde woman, sultry, up on a billboard in LA. And it started in 1982. She put herself up there. She has since had over 200 billboards around LA and has made her way into movies. This is our third one I think she's been in. She was in The Fan. She was in this. She was in The Day After Tomorrow. Like, her billboards are all over LA. And
That's amazing.
Yeah, she just did it like herself and no one really knew what was going on. But she became like a fixture of LA lore for just being. So her billboard comes down in this. Emmy Rossum in Day After Tomorrow actually plays her in a Peacock miniseries called Angeline about this person who was just like, no one knew who she was and just had famous billboards for decades all over LA. So I think like you'll see her board come down, but I feel like she needed a little recognition here because it's just like the coolest thing. You just started off.
Such an amazing move.
Yeah. And it's not even like she was like, hey, I'm GrobeStreet, watch my thing. It was just her up there and you're not even sure what she does. She's just up on the billboard. You're not even sure what she's advertising. And she, like I said, she kept her identity a secret until 2017, which is insane. Her first billboard was 1982. She's had over 200 billboards since.
That's amazing. Billboards are one of those things that I have no idea how much it costs to get something on a billboard. Like, you could tell me it costs $100 a week, or you could tell me it costs $1 million a week, and I would have no idea which was closer.
Because of her, I went down I'm currently in a rabbit hole of looking for billboards across the United States for various interests just for this thing. And there are things now where it's like digital, where you can put your thing up for like 5 hours on a commute on a billboard, but it's very different than having like what she used to do. But you're right. Billboard prices, I have no idea. Is it $1,000 a day? Is it $1 million? I don't know.
No idea. I feel like I usually can sort of ballpark things, but for that, like I just have no sense of what kind of space we're talking about here.
Right. And I also like driving across the country, like I have multiple times. There's so many billboards that seem like they would be cheap. I mean, they're usually like, you're dying, Jesus isn't coming, or Jesus is already here, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be that expensive there.
It can't be.
What do you got?
I feel like I actually got to most of my stuff. They did have some really great, I don't know what they're called, changeovers, crossovers, like the visual moving from one scene to another, which is always just like a fun added element. There were a bunch of those that were really good in here. It did. Yeah. Oh, the other thing, we touched on this briefly in the BOLOs, the typewriter text. You wonder, because there's nothing particularly typewriter-y about this. I feel like oftentimes typewriter text is sort of for like police procedural type films.
Yep.
And maybe because this was government department that was sort of running the show, that's where this came in. But I did think that typewriter text was was a funny choice, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was a huge fan as well. I got a few to go. I think I have too many to go down, but I'll try to go fast. Nobody seems to take vacations when they're supposed to. If Volcano's around, from Dante's Peak and this is always like vacations, but they have to come into work. Rachel's death, I thought, was hilarious and forgotten very quickly.
Yes.
It's very clear that like everyone who goes down these tunnels, stop going into tunnels.
Yes, right.
Everyone who goes into a tunnel dies. Stop.
Yeah, like horribly. Not just dies, is like a steam burn to death.
Yeah, it's just horrific. Stop. And it's like, they say it's too dangerous for us ladies to go down there. It's dangerous for anyone. There's a volcano. You were the one who was saying there's a volcano.
Yeah, that I thought was very strange. It's like, I guess she was very much trying to prove that she was correct, but it did seem insane. Like, if you are correct, which you think you are, you're going into a volcano right now.
Right, so you're right. I thought Stan kind of died like Arnold in T2. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes.
Yup, like I'm lower.
100%.
I can't lower myself in. I have to sacrifice to do this. Oh, I almost picked this. There's a part when Tommy Lee Jones is on the phone, like talking to like Don Cheadle, and Hesh is saying something to him, and he goes, "I'm on the phone." And she's like, sorry, you're right. You're on the phone. That used to be a big thing. Like if someone's talking on the phone, don't talk to them. That would be rude to the person they're on the phone with because they can't hear them and everything else. There's no one now on the phone being like, hey, I'm on the phone, because everyone's always on the phone. A phone call was a bigger deal. And I really like they put in the movie like, hey, I'm on the phone. And she literally apologizes in this big moment with lava bombs everywhere. She's like, you know what? Sorry. I should not have said anything. I
feel like I need to show that clip to my 4-year-old because whenever I'm on the phone, there's no attention paid to the fact that I am clearly talking to somebody else on the phone. It's just layer upon layer of like more dire need of my attention.
And that's all I got. Pretty excited. I think you, and I know you are too, about our next movie. You want to say?
I'm so pumped. I mean, it's time for our annual Christmas episode. So we've gone horror for a number of our prior Christmas episodes, but this year going to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. We are going with our first Ernest movie, the all-time banger, Ernest Saves Christmas.
I really like how you set that up with our first, because there might be more coming.
Yes.
That's perfect. And this is a top 2 Ernest movie.
Yes, 100%. I can't wait to watch it. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. And also I feel like a Christmas movie that hasn't been watched to death. You know, like I feel like there's a handful of movies that everyone, like classics that everyone watches over and over again. I feel like somehow this is a classic that has just not gotten its due.
I feel like this is one of these movies I watched so much as a kid, and it's been now, I don't know, 20 plus years, I think, since I've seen it. So it'll be like watching it again for the first time, but I can't wait because it's such a fun.
I can't wait.
I remember just renting this movie every single Christmas. You'd go to it had to be rented before Christmas happened.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward to this. Was a blast, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Later.
Later.